Idly Ho Drinkerinos, it's another episode of the Idaho Booze Podcast with me, Steve Kuntz, and we are all dressed up today for the Kentucky Derby. It is Derby weekend, y'all. Oh my goodness, we love the Kentucky Derby, don't we, folks? Anyway, we are going to be celebrating that with our Warren Reserve Cocktail of the Week. We're going to take you south of the border for that, well, south of the Mason-Dixie line, I should say. And we're also going to have an amazing interview with Split Rail's Jed Glavin. We're going to talk all about Split Rail's wines, their past, their present, their future, the whole thing. We're doing the whole thing with Split Rail. You're going to love it. It's an awesome interview, and then I'm going to follow that up with some Friday Night Pints wine edition, sipping some fine wines from Split Rail. You're not going to want to miss it. We have all that and more coming up on this Derby edition of the Idaho Booze Podcast.
Howdy, y'all. It's Kentucky Derby week, which means we have, first of all, garish clothing on, I suppose. And that means we're going to need a nice cocktail for the running of the Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs this weekend. So what are we going to do? We're going to do a Kentucky Mule. This is a Kentucky Ginger Mule made with Warren Reserve ginger root cocktail bitters. These things are amazing. They're really good. They add a lot of flavor to anything that you make, and this drink is going to be amazing. So we're going to start out with our bitters. We're going to take our ginger root bitters from Warren Reserve. We're going to add them. We're going to go straight to our glass in this one. No shaker necessary. We're going to go three big dashes. There you go. That's going to add lots of ginger flavor. Going to be really tasty. Then we're going to add some ice. Get this in there, because we want this drink to be nice and refreshing. So we're going to start chilling it down immediately as we're making it. First thing we're going to do is going to do our lime. So we're going to do about half an ounce to an ounce of fresh lime juice. We always want to do fresh lime juice anytime we're making a cocktail, because that makes it taste better. Fresh lime is just better. So we're going to go ahead and squeeze that in there. All right, that's about half an ounce. I don't think this lime is going to give us all that we need, but that's all right. All right, we got about half an ounce there. Looking good on lime juice. All right, next we're going to do our bourbon. It wouldn't be a Southern drink, a proper Kentucky drink, without proper Kentucky bourbon, would it? So I got my Elijah Craig here. Nice little 94 proof, good bottle, nice price. You can get this pretty much anywhere, I feel like. And we're going to go ahead and do 2 ounces of that. We'll do there's 1/2. That way you can see. And we'll do 1 ounce there. There we go. Got our bourbon in. And then we're going to top that off with some really nice ginger beer. This ginger beer is Fever Tree. Really tasty ginger beer. Not sponsored, just really like Fever Tree stuff. This is really, really good. And the prices come down on it a little bit, so it's not quite as expensive. So you just top that off with that. Booyah. And then we're going to stir that bad boy up. Now this drink is, it's the mint julep that everybody loves, right? With the Kentucky Derby. I love the mint julep too. Awesome drink. But I thought we'd do something a little gingery. Just give it a little snap, a little bit of flavor. So we got our fresh sprig of mint here. So we will have some mint in with this drink as well. Gonna slap that. Boop, boop, boop. I'm gonna take this little stem off. Then we're gonna garnish with a lime sprig, and there you have it. So you can see it is our Kentucky Ginger Mule from Warren Reserve Cocktail Company. We're using the Warren Reserve ginger root bitters. You can get these and all these other bitters that we have here from Warren Reserve, including one of these little packets right here at warrenreserve.com. Use my promo code IdahoBooze25 for 15% off your entire order of $40 or more at warrenreserve.com. Let's give this guy a little taste. Oh yeah. So the regular Moscow Mules are great. Nothing wrong with the Moscow Mule, but this one adds a little bit of that bourbon, that kind of nice little bourbon flavor. And then the ginger comes through really nicely with those bitters in there. I can even taste it right now, like on the back of my tongue. Awesome. And the mint on there, really nice on the nose. Not necessarily in the flavor, but on the nose. Really helps bring this drink together. So there you have it. It's a Kentucky Ginger Mule from Warren Reserve Cocktail Company and Warren Reserve Ginger Root Bitters. This week's Warren Reserve Cocktail of the Week. Go Horses!
Ready to amp up your summer cocktail program? Just add a dash of Warren Reserve ginger root bitters to your favorite cocktail and let the magic of pure ginger root transform your boring drink into an amazing summer refresher. Warren Reserve ginger root bitters are made with fresh ginger root, so the flavor you're getting is pure ginger. Use these bitters to add tons of flavor to any mule, Moscow, or otherwise, or add them to a margarita for a little spice. Get your ginger root bitters or any delicious Warren Reserve bitters or syrups at warrenreserve.com. Use my promo code IdahoBooze25 at checkout. Save 15% on your next purchase. Add a blast of flavor to your summer cocktails with Warren Reserve Ginger Root Bitters. I'm a big fan of your guys' wine. I mean, let's just get right into it. This is Jed Glavin from Split Rail Winery, the owner, operator, CEO.
All those things. Yeah. Yep.
Well, welcome to the pod. We're happy to have you. Thank you for inviting us into your lovely winery. It's a gorgeous winery. You guys did a really awesome job on this place. Talk about kind of what went into building this place.
Yeah, so we've only been in here for about 3 years. If you're familiar with the winery, we started down the road about two miles down, and we were in an old auto body shop that we kind of renovated and worked out of for 10 or 11 years. So it was Funk City down there, and we just kind of made it work. We had old drains and stuff dug out of there that weren't actually sloped in towards the drain. We
Classic.
had so many old problems with that building, but it was awesome, and it allowed us to kind of bank cash and be able to build this thing, which was always kind of a dream of ours. We'd been looking around Garden City forever for warehouses or the right space where we could move into and see if we could find an existing building. And we looked and looked and looked, and finally we were like, you know what? I think the only way we can actually get something that we really, really are going to appreciate is probably just to build it. So, we were able to build this about 3 years ago, and it's been fantastic so far. Honestly, it's been a dream to have a beautiful building that's easy to operate in. It's convenient. It's comfortable. All of our stuff's like temp controlled. It's all new for us too, because that old building was kind of temp controlled, but in like a real shifty sort of way. We had air conditioners, multiple air conditioners that were pumping in air at weird times, and there was no humidifier, and the tasting room was in the same space as the barrels and all the wine was stored. So it was a hardship, always trying to keep things the right temp and then keep customers comfortable. And we were running forklifts through the middle of that thing, during operations when we're open to the public. So this is a huge change to us. It still feels new.
Yeah, and you guys, it's kind of a rite of passage if you're going to be in Garden City, right? You have to start out somewhere.
Totally, you start out somewhere janky. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Either that or at Joe's.
If we can make some sort of alcohol in these conditions, we can do it anywhere.
You start out either at Cinder, or you start out like right around Cinder somewhere.
Yep.
And then you move to your beautiful place right here, where the new Bardenay and the steakhouse and everything else is right here, right?
Totally. Yes, Talaya's down the road, which is great. It's great in my mind to have another winery close by. When people are wine tasting, they'll come here, they'll go there, and then they're going to want to taste more. So it's great just to have another winery close. Barbarian's right next to us down the street too.
Yeah.
And if people are into drinky stuff, I guarantee after a couple glasses of wine, they'll go have a cool beer from Barbarian too.
For sure.
So it's just a cool synergy to have everybody down here in the same spot.
Yeah, and then Yardarm is just a little bit of a walk down, and then Parcero is across the street. I mean, there's just a lot of fun stuff to do right around here.
Western Collective. I mean, we're all kind of in this little enclave here.
That's cool. So tell us about how you started making wine, where this journey started for you, and how you became to have this beautiful new place right here in Garden City.
Totally. So we started making wine in our garage back in the day, like everybody does. All the home brewers, and everyone else starts by making it in their garage. My wife and I, when we were going up to school at University of Idaho, we started driving down to Walla Walla during the weekends and wine tasting in Walla Walla right when it was just getting started. And you'd like go taste in people's garages. It was free to taste, which is awesome when you're in college. You get to go drink somewhere for free for the weekend. So we did that for a couple years, and then we were there 1 year, and I started asking people about grapes and how you buy grapes and, how you can start making wine. And we met a grape grower there that actually had a winery, and he's like, give me a call in the fall and I'll sell you some grapes and you can come and hand pick some. So we, drove our car up with these big Tupperwares in the back, and went out in the vineyard and picked a bunch of grapes and brought them home. And we had a book on how to make wine, which is in theory, that's where you're going to start, right? Is by reading something, but just trying to read how to make wine or beer is really tough. You know what I mean? There's so many pieces and parts that you miss or that you don't really totally understand unless somebody's physically explaining to you how to do it. So, we made wine in our garage for 2 or 3 years. The wine was pretty shitty, honestly. You know what I mean? It was pretty mediocre because we didn't know how to check the sulfur levels or how to filter it, and but it was fun. That was the bottom line.
You guys didn't have a lab set up?
No, we hardly even knew what sulfur was. I mean, we used a little bit of it, but we didn't have scales or anything. It was all just like, toss a little bit of this in there, toss some of that in there. And we just kind of fell in love with it. Our friends thought it was fun when you bring a bottle of something to a party when you've made it, and it's somewhat decent. People get pretty excited about stuff like that.
So in brewing, we have the home brewing Bible, basically by Charles Papazian, and Advanced Home Brewing. What do you remember? What the book was that you guys had? What the wine book was?
God, I don't. It's old. I wonder if it's even still in print. It wasn't big. It was pretty small.
And did it just explain to you how fermentation works and stuff like that?
Basically, that's what awesome. You're looking for in grapes, how you add sulfur right when you crush it to protect the grapes, you know what I mean? And you don't get all these off fermentations and some of the basic stuff, but we're working full-time jobs and just diddling on the side, with this. So it's just for fun. And if you screw it up, who cares? Was the theory back then. Yeah. So that's how we got started. And then we met Mike Crowley from Syringa Winery. We started doing wine tastings in Idaho as the Idaho wine industry was kind of growing. And we met him because he already owned a winery from Syringa. And we started talking to him, and he was like, you know what? I just bought some equipment. I need some help paying for it. If you guys are interested in scaling up and starting a winery, I'll just charge you a fee to come use my equipment, which is what it's all about with all this awesome. This stuff, that we make beer, wine, all the equipment's the expensive part. Right, so we had an opportunity to go move in with him and use his equipment, not have any overhead costs. He was an enologist, so he knew how to make wine. Cool. But he knew way more than us. So we kind of moved into the space and made wine with him for a couple years, started our own label. And it was a really great, fortuitous way to start a business that just kind of made sense from us from the beginning. So
that's amazing. That's a really cool way to start out on your sort of journey into getting to where you are now. I mean, you literally were making it in your garage, and then moved on. Someone was nice enough to give you to let you use some of the crushers and
press. There's a big huge press. After you crush the grapes up and they ferment, you have to dump them in a press, and it squeezes all the juice, all the.
I imagine giant steel fermenters. You had maybe some of those.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, pressure washer, of course. You got it. And then all
that's for your feet afterward, after you crush them, right? The pressure washer.
No, so that's so funny.
Because don't do that.
What's that?
Don't do that.
Don't crush with your feet.
Don't hit the pressure washer on your foot.
Oh, right. Tear the skin off of your feet.
It's a bad way to go.
Yeah, I mean, most wineries anymore don't crush stuff with their feet. That's kind of like an old adage. It's that old picture you have of people making wine. It would take eons to make wine.
Do you think it's because of the first viral video, the lady who fell down? Is that the reason why we don't crush them with our feet anymore?
I don't know. I think it's a time thing. It's like if you have 10 people out there stomping on the grapes, it takes forever.
What if we're talking about
crush
like
'em up.
size 14s though? I mean, we got. What if we had like 10 shacks out there?
Yeah, I was going to say if we had some NBA players out there squishing them in. And
that might be a good NIL for the Boise State basketball. you could get them over here, have them squish grapes, get them an NIL deal with that.
Totally. And we can sell the wine to all their fans or something.
That's right.
Yeah, so you don't do that much anymore. We'll do it every once in a while during harvest for like our club members, something like that, where it's like, hey, we'll come in and foot stomp something, and then we'll release a foot stomp wine. But yeah, nobody really does that much anymore. Great question though.
Thanks, I appreciate that. That's nice of you to say. So we have your spring releases here.
Yep.
So why don't we start with one of those and mosey on through those and see what we got here?
Totally. I'll start with bubbles. So we just started making sparkling wines, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. And everybody on the staff that works here loves sparkling wines. So we decided we'd try to figure out how to make them. And all of our sparkling wines are made in this old school method called Petnat or Pétillant Naturel. I guarantee I'm screwing that up, but that's French. It's a French term. But you basically bring the grapes in, press the juice out of the grapes, and start fermenting them, and then you watch the fermentation really closely until it's almost at zero. Basically, all the sugar has been fermented out of the juice, and right when it's almost done fermenting at like 0.2 brix, you'll bottle it, and it'll finish fermenting in the bottle, and that's what carbonates it. So it's an old school style of making sparkling wine. It's all unfined, unfiltered, so you really get like the pure form of the sparkling wine. It's just really fresh, fruity, bubbly, kind of delicious stuff. So, and the sparkling wine we're releasing in this release is called Defunk. So we have made this wine various times. A lot of our wines we don't make in exactly the same way every time. So we'll use different grape varieties, we'll age them or ferment them with different yeasts. And really a lot of that's A, to keep the wines interesting, and then B, to keep us interested in what we're doing.
Is that like a bring in the noise, bring in defunk? Like that sort of defunk? Is that what we're talking about?
It was named after the Daft Punk song. They have a song called Defunk.
Yeah.
And one of our other sparkling wines is called Daft Pink.
Yep.
So we kind of play with, the whole Daft Punk kind of thing. We listen to a lot of electronic music.
Late 90s, early 2000s electronic music. I mean,
Totally.
why not?
Yes. That's kind of our shtick. And if you've been to the building too, we have a lot of hot pink and like turquoise colors, and we love 80s and the kind of that 80s vibe to everything. So, and then this wine too has this, speaking of 80s, has this big green neon label on the front of it with like a hot pink and purple zebra on it. We just randomly come up with this shit. It doesn't necessarily mean anything particular. We'll just create cool labels that we think are fun and funky and intriguing for people that are buying them off the shelf. So, and the grape varieties in this it's Counois and Cinsault, a couple pretty unconventional red Rhone grape varieties you don't see a lot. They make delicious rosé. Okay. So really lightly pressed in our press. So it's a super light bodied, like hyper fruity rosé, sparkling rosé.
Okay, and what are those grapes again?
Counois. Yeah. Wait, what'd you call me?
Yeah.
Counois and Cinsault.
Cinsault, okay.
Cinsault we play with. So our Laser Fox, if you're familiar with that wine, is Cinsault.
Okay.
That's that grape. But Counois, you don't see it around very often.
Yeah.
But it makes delicious rosé. We have made a rosé in the past out of Counois. So we're bringing one of those old versions of, I think back then before Defunk, we'd called it Daft Pink Remix.
Okay.
So we'd take in the Daft Pink name and then put a remix sign on it, like, those old electronic remix albums that we used to listen to back in the day.
Cool.
So yeah, we're bringing it back, bringing Counois back.
It's about time. And so, okay, we got Counois, the rosé, and it's really nicely bottled, nice label. And I want to talk about your labels actually here in a little bit. We'll get through the spring releases first, then try those. So that's cool. So did you say it was your first bubbly or your second? But I guess your second one, the Daft Pink, was the first one.
Rosé. So we make quite a few bubbles now. We've
Okay.
also got White Noise, which is sparkling Riesling that we sell loads of. It's sparkling dry Riesling. We've got Defunct. We also have a classic style sparkling that's just called Blanc de Noir.
Okay.
It's a really classic looking label. We don't really do a lot of classic stuff. So,
Yeah. So it's probably an outlier in that way that it is a classic looking
It
label.
looks like an outlier, but it sells to like a different sect of people. You know what I mean? We get a lot of the baby boomers in here that are looking for more of the classic vibe sort of stuff. And it's Pinot Meunier and Chardonnay that are fermented in an oak barrel. So it's kind of mimicking like traditional style champagne. It's delicious. We'll continue to make that. And then the last one we have is called All the Beautiful Horses. And it's sparkling Rousson that we disgorged. We have to disgorge these wines. I don't know if I'll go too deep into that because that's a whole nother description. But when you disgorge it, you basically release the pressure from the bottle and you lose a little bit of the wine when you do that.
Interesting.
Because when you bottle it during fermentation, it builds up a bunch of pressure in there.
Yeah.
And if you just opened it, if we released it to the public and opened it, half the wine would
geysers,
spray out.
huh?
Yeah. So you have to disgorge it, kind of catch the wine, maintain it in the bottle, and then you have to retop it with a little bit of wine so that All the Beautiful Horses, we disgorged it and topped it with sour beer that was made down at Barbarian. So it's like a beer wine fusion thing.
That's cool. And okay, so just to sort of walk some of our beer people through that, what you're basically doing is you're bottle fermenting, and then you're opening the bottle to release some of that pressure.
Yep.
And then you're adding something back on top, then corking the bottle,
Recapping
I guess?
it
Or
again.
recapping, or you cap it?
Yep, that's it in a nutshell.
Wow.
So we bottle it, flip the bottles upside down, and then the wine's unfiltered. So all the shit and sediment in it settles out into the neck.
Mm-hmm.
We get it really cold, and then you keep the bottles upside down when you disgorge them, and it kind of blows all that sediment out and releases the pressure from the bottle, and then you top it.
So you don't open it all the way, you just kind of crack it?
You have to. Well, we do it underwater, so there's various ways to do it. We had learned over the years what the easiest way is to do it. You can also do it into the open air, but it sprays shit absolutely everywhere and makes a huge
Underwater
mess.
makes sense. And
We
you
used to have like these caves built that you would disgorge into, and then you'd have to wash them down. But if you put the bottle underwater, it blows the pressure out, and no water actually gets back in there, and it's clean, keeps the bottles clean.
Yeah, because it's pushing everything out, so the water can't get in.
Exactly.
You have to do that bottle by bottle.
Bottle by bottle.
Holy shit!
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Your hands are in water all day long.
Just pruny.
We disgorged this, I don't know what, 3 months ago. And I think we lost one of our production guys this year. I disgorged every bottle. So we did, 250 cases times 12 in a day.
Wow.
So I think I disgorged, whatever that is. I'm not doing math right now.
No.
3,000 bottles or something.
That's a lot
day.
of disgorging.
It's a lot. And you just kind of, a lot of this stuff's like factory work that we're doing. People put this glamour behind producing wine and beer. And as you know, because you've made beer before, we're just washing shit half the time and cleaning up messes that we make.
Yep.
You know?
That is true.
Yep.
Yeah, and if we're not cleaning messes, then we're making messes, and then cleaning the messes, and then making the messes. That's sort of the circle of life when you work at a brewery or a winery.
Totally.
The distillery people get off pretty easy. They don't really have as much cleaning and messing as we do. They don't. I've seen their operations. They get off easy, and anything they spill is you can use that to clean anyway. It's usually like ethanol.
Oh, because alcohol content's so high. Yeah. That makes sense.
But they get off easy. We're the ones doing the dirty work out here, and man, I could go on and on about this disgorging thing forever. But we're gonna move on. What's next? What else do we have in the spring?
So the other one is a brand new white we've never released. It's that big tall bottle with the pink cap over there, and it's called the Gris. So brand new wine, brand new name. We haven't released anything like this before. So what was it? Harvest before last, we produced a little bit of orange muscat and Riesling together, and we co-fermented them just to kind of see what would happen. Everybody on the staff here, especially me, are big Riesling fans.
Okay.
I absolutely adore Riesling, and it's a shame because nobody else in the world seems to like Riesling right now, or they have this perception about Riesling. So
it had a moment, didn't it? A couple of years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it kind of got going, didn't it?
Yeah, Leslie from Coil did a really good job. She she has always been a big Riesling fan, and she, had this really cool package and really got people behind Riesling. Had these cool T-shirts that said like Riesling Revolution and stuff. And Riesling grows really well in Idaho. It's Idaho's grape. It's meant here.
Okay.
It's a colder climate grape. It just does really well. But all the vineyards are ripping them out because nobody wants to produce Riesling because it's just got a bad name. People think that Riesling has to be sweet when they don't understand that basically any grape you can ferment dry, right?
Yeah.
You can ferment all the sugar out of it, but Riesling has traditionally stop the fermentation pretty short, so you still have some sweetness left in it, and it still tastes good. And just people just don't like it.
Talk to me about this guy.
So, anyways, this is a dry style Riesling. We're calling it an Alsatian blend, which is a very tricky way for us to not have to tell people that it's Riesling, because a lot of times if you have them taste it and you don't tell them what it is, they're like, "Oh, that's delicious," and then you tell them after the fact. So we always figure out tricky ways to come up with
an Alsatian blend.
Alsatian blend, from the Alsatian region in Europe. They typically grow these grape varieties, these Pinot Gris, so Muscat, Riesling, Pinot Gris, Gewurz. I think those are all grown there. Don't quote me on that, but so we're just kind of.
I don't see how we could.
Yeah. So we're just kind of using that term. Like I said, it's a dry style Riesling. It's super crisp, kind of tastes like fuzzy peaches, but it's dry and it's almost on the spectrum of Pinot Gris. So we wanted to take that flavor profile that you get from the wine, and that's where we came up with the name, the Gris-Gris. The Gris-Gris, if you look it up, is like a word for like a talisman, like a lucky symbol of some sort that you have. And hopefully it'll tailor people's minds to what the wine tastes like more than what it is.
Well, that's what we want, especially when you consider your guys' labels being so cool, always so creative. So with the Alsatian blend with the not Riesling that we have there, I can't wait to try it. I'm excited. I like white wines that are I like kind of Italian wine, like the sweeter, not sweet, but like on the sweet side. So that sounds right up my alley. I mean, it sounds awesome. I don't like oaky Chardonnay or anything like that.
Yeah. I
like the ones that are crisp and clean, where you can kind of taste the fruit and the flavor.
Yep.
And if it's a little sweet, it's fine. I'm not out there getting Moscato, but if it's got a little bit of sweetness,
a little bit of hue, and everybody fights the sweet wine thing anymore. And I'm with you. I don't think, we don't want them syrupy sweet like hummingbird food, but if you keep a little bit of sugar in with the wine, it makes them more floral. It gives them more body. It gives the wines more character. But it's weird. That's all people walk in. If it tastes sweet, they're like, "Oop, that wine's sweet. I'm not going to drink it." So it's just weird. It's like they don't. I'm not sure what.
That's interesting. Well, I can't wait to try that one. And then what else? Moving right along.
The next one with the purple wax on top of it is Grenache. So it's called Just Another Rainbow. Grenache is the second vintage of this. We're also big Grenache fans here. Really light-bodied red Grenache is. Same with Cinsault. We produce a lot of light-bodied wines. They're just easier to drink if you want to crank a cap and just have a glass of wine and not have to worry about food or anything like that. They also work well in the transitional seasons. When it's kind of warm outside and you're like, God, I don't want a big tannic red wine right now. I just want something light and fruity and delicious. And Grenache can kind of fit that bill. So this is super light. It's all fruit, fresh raspberry stuff. We age it in oak, but usually not a lot of new oak because it kind of beats up the fruit. When you get really light-bodied stuff, and if you put too much oak on it, that's all you taste is wood.
Yeah,
it kind of tastes like 2x4s sometimes. So it's meant to be kind of lightly oaked, but it's just all fresh fruit. These light-bodied reds too, we can chill them sometimes in the winery.
Sure.
And for people that like to sit outside when it's sunny, it's like, hey, I've got a red wine that we can chill for you and you can drink.
I do like a chilled Grenache or Grenache.
Yep.
I think they're really good. I agree with you. That's a good grape for here. I've seen a lot of them. There's a lot of really good blends made with it. I really enjoy that varietal of wine. I really do.
Yep.
So I'm excited.
And we've always made the Horn Beast, which is a Rhone blend that has Syrah, Grenache, and Mourvedre in it. So Grenache is one of the
I'm familiar with the Horn Beast.
Yeah. But Grenache on its own, like we always taste the Grenache out of barrel and we're like, oh my God, we love this wine. We just need to release it. So we just were like, you know what? We're just going to start releasing Grenache because we all love it. Grenache is an interesting grape too if you dig into it. So it was overproduced for a long time in France, and they would put it in all their like cheap wine.
Yeah.
What they would call plonk, if you ever heard that term. It's just a term for like, I think it's a British term for like, cheap crappy wine.
Sounds like a British term, plonk.
Yeah, fucking plonk.
Plonk.
But Grenache has like exploded in the Northwest lately, and it's kind of tough to find. Everybody's kind of scrambling to get Grenache grapes because they like the wine that it produces. So
yeah, and something that when we talk about some of the different wines that you guys make, I'd love to talk about how you guys kind of choose that particular grape and what goes into that, because it's really become kind of synonymous with a lot of Idaho wines now are producing some really nice Grenaches.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you guys, I'd put that Horn Beast right up there with it. Like, I love that wine. It's really, really good. And I just actually chilled. I have in my fridge right now your rosé made with Grenache that I just got yesterday.
Oh, no,
so I have that.
Where'd you get it?
I got it at Whole Foods.
Oh, yeah.
My guy Teeter set me up.
Yep, that's funny. So we haven't even released that yet. I think we've released it to like 2 accounts, and Whole Foods is one of them. So we don't even have it on the shelf at the winery yet.
Well, I'll be releasing it to my mother-in-law later on tonight. So I'll text you. I'll let you know what I think.
Yes, please do. Let me know. We're excited for that one. So we've traditionally tried to make rosé out of Grenache. It's funny. Our previous vintage was Syrah because the Grenache plot that we had somebody helping us grow was sprayed with 2,4-D on accident, which is
I don't know what that is.
Is
that Roundup?
It's like it's a weed plant killer, that they use for
herbicide or something.
It's an herbicide that they spray in planes.
Gotcha.
And they were spraying the fields next to this vineyard, and there was like wind or something, and it blew over and it killed the plot of Grenache that we had grown for rosé. Killed the plonk.
Killed the plonk.
Yep. So we had to kind of wait a season, produce last year's out of Syrah, and then this year we're back to Grenache because we found a new source for the Grenache to make the rosé out of.
Just looking at them side by side, I like the look of the Grenache one a little bit better. The Syrah one is darker, right?
Yep.
And the Grenache one's sort of a lighter pink, which I think is more my style when I'm looking at a rosé. Now, there are some rosés that are out. Actually, your neighbor right down the street here, Earl, put out a rosé. I think that's almost clear. So his is like pink, like light pink.
Yep,
and I like that color that your Grenache one has. It's a nice, like kind of dark pink. It's not quite that red the Syrah is. Sometimes those red ones, I think they taste great. They taste fine. Everything's fine with them. But you just look at them and you drink with your eyes first, right?
100%, especially with rosé, because rosé is such it's all about color and what the wine looks like.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's like kind of in your control, but kind of not. Depends on the grapes. I mean, Syrah, of course, is a way, deeper colored grape than Grenache is. Yeah. So it's way easier to get a skin color extraction from it. So it's really how fast you can press it. A lot of times we'll just throw the grapes in the press and start a press cycle. And, the first run of juice will come out clear, but then the skins, as they sit longer in the press, you'll start to get more color extraction.
Yeah.
And
is that done kind of like in brewing? Is it like a rinse, like you run water through it or whatever, and you until you get that color that you want?
No, so the press has like a bunch of different press cycles where it'll squeeze a little bit and then it'll stop and it'll deflate and it'll rotate and then it'll squeeze a little bit. So they have slow and then fast press cycles where it's like it'll squeeze a bunch and then it'll release and then it'll rotate and then squeeze a bunch. And that's what you want to do for rosé, right? Is get the juice out as quick as possible before you're getting too much color extraction.
Okay.
But then some people too bring the grapes in, crush them up really fast with the crusher, and then just throw it in the press as quick as you can. But you've got to be real fast, depending on what grapes you're doing when you do that method. So everyone does things a little bit differently. You know what I mean? There's no right or wrong way. It's just kind of like how you learn to do it and whatever you think's right.
I should have told you at the beginning, anytime I say something stupid, you are allowed 100% to be like, no, that's stupid. Like, I mean, when we're talking about wine or when I'm talking with distilleries, like wineries and distilleries, I 100% say stupid things like probably 30% of the time. So anytime I say something stupid, you can just say, that's stupid.
I guarantee you know more than most of the other people that we talked to about this.
Well, I mean, that only comes from practice. It's mostly practice. Did we get that pink bottle? Do we have all the spring releases? Did we get through all of them?
Nope. And then we've got one more, which is the yellow bottle at the end there. It's a Bordeaux blend. This is the second vintage of that wine too, called the Coyote. There's a deeper story there too. We've got a big mural in the winery that is, it's kind of dubbed after the Coyote, and that's where that name comes from. Anyways, that mural picture is on the label.
Okay.
Is what we use it from. It's basically a fusion of the coyote and a koi fish.
Nice.
And we've got a story there that explains what that's from. But we started producing this Bordeaux blend. It's like a big age-worthy, dry red wine that's cab, Petit Verdot, and Merlot. So all the classic Bordeaux grape varieties that are in there. But it's big, it's super dry. It's better if it ages. So this is one of those, big daddy red wines that everybody's kind of searching for, that if you're going to grill for the night, that's your wine. That you want to open it up. And it's big, it's tannic, it'll dry your mouth out, it'll cut through fat, all that stuff.
And what's that one called again?
The Coyote.
Mm-hmm. The Coyote. Cool. Well, those are your guys' spring releases. I can't wait to try them. I'm going to try them here after we're done. And then I will, I'm not really reviewing them. I'll just kind of give my light opinion of them during the show, during Friday Night Pints. So you'll be able to listen to that after our interview, which will be really cool. And we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with Jed Glavin from Split Rail Winery right after this. Patio season is here, and nothing brings down the vibe more than getting that bill at the end of happy hour when you're paying full price for pours. Don't be a sucker. Get a Boise Beer Buddies card. It means never having to pay full price with the summer patio season coming up. You need to save as much money as you can. Go to BoiseBeerBuddies.com, sign up for your Beer Buddies card, and save money at dozens of bars, restaurants, breweries, wineries, cideries, and more for just $20. What's that? You want to buddy up with a friend? Use my promo code BOOZEPOD at checkout and get one for your best buddy for free. That's a BOGO Beer Buddy. Be a buddy and get your Boise Beer Buddies card today. Heading out to the lake is great, and Treasure Valley Chevron is here to make that lake trip even better with a crazy selection of snacks, drinks, and stuff for your long weekend away. Need a lift for the road? With the Treasure Valley's largest assortment of energy drinks, energy shots, coffee, candy, sodas, and more, you can fill yourself up for the long trip along with your car. Looking for something more substantial? TVC has a huge assortment of snacks, chips, and more to munch on during your trek. Hit up Treasure Valley Chevron at I-84 and Gowan Road or Highway 55 at Beacon Light and see why TVC is your best stop for any trip. Welcome back to the Idaho Booze Podcast. I'm Steve Kuntz here with Jed Glavin. Jed, how's it going?
Good, man. Really good.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me out to your winery. In this, we're in the, I don't know what I can only describe as the VIP room.
Yeah.
And it's really nice and comfortable in here. I'm really digging it. Maybe I'll just do all my interviews in here from now on.
That chair looks so befitting on you.
I feel like a king. Honestly, it's really nice. But yeah, thanks a lot for having us out. We just went through your spring releases one by one, so people can check those out at the end of the show. I'm going to taste some of them and we'll see what we think. I'm sure they're amazing. How do you choose what to release in the spring rather than like the fall or the summer?
Yeah.
Because I imagine harvest is kind of one time, right?
Yeah, it's one time, and at this, it's timing, a little bit of it's timing, like that. The sparkling we made this last harvest, that white, we aged that in bottle for a year, so we wanted to wait a little bit before we released it. So it's all timing, kind of depends on what our inventory is on some of these wines too. And it's like, oh shit, if we're almost out of that wine, we need to produce more. Timing may be good there. Some of it we predict before we do it and come up with new stuff. So it's a great question. It's a little more nuanced. You know what I mean? Depends on what we have going on.
Okay. Well, good. And you guys, obviously, you have to also work the degorging cycle into that as well. Like,
Totally. Depends
when
on
do you
how
have
much
time to degorge?
we can get stuff packaged. I've only got one production guy as well as me, so we get a lot of stuff done with a very small crew, but it's all about timing and execution and all
Maybe
that stuff.
we'll be able to get you guys some interns or something, help out with that degorging process. Are there any wines that you have not been able to make with the sort of fruit and stuff that you guys utilize that you haven't been able to make yet, or that you'd like to make in the future? Is there something out there, your white whale or anything like that?
We have tried almost everything I think that we're interested in trying once. There's always more stuff that I would love to try. Carignan is a grape that we've had a very hard time finding or getting access to. I would love to produce Carignan in one way or another. We had a hard time with our carbonic wines this year. If you've had those, it's like how you make Beaujolais, but we make carbonic wines out of all the Rhone stuff. So we've done Mourvedre and Grenache.
So
these really
just
light.
real quick, that's a wine that you basically ferment and put out to be fresh, to be served fresh.
Exactly. Yep. So our red wines you bring in, you crush up the grapes, right? We bring the grapes and crush them up, ferment them on the skins, and then basically press it off the skins into barrel. That's like the quickest description ever. These other wines that we were just talking about, you bring in and you ferment them in whole clusters, like inside the grape in a tank. So we'll put these big plot of grapes in a tank and remove the oxygen, and it ferments in the berry very slowly, and then you press the juice out once it's done fermenting, and then you release the wine pretty young. So it's this juicy style young red wine. And I would love to make one out of Carignan. We're going to try again this year. We had some hardships with it last year, so they didn't turn out that great. We did release one really small lot Carmenere that was kind of an experiment. And then the last thing, there's a million things I want to make, but we have talked forever about making a late harvest Riesling that we age in whiskey barrels. Ooh. I don't know how it would be, but we've talked about it for years. Could be real shitty, but it sounds fun. And we continue to talk about it.
It could go either way.
It could totally go either way. Plus dessert wines are tough to sell anymore. Like we were talking about Riesling being tough to sell. A sweet, dessert wine. I love them to death, but we could be sitting on them for a long time. So
I have ones that people gave me that I've been sitting on. I don't even know how long. Yeah, because it's just like, when's the right opportunity? Like
totally, you have to be in the right mood. It's that people aren't drinking those daily. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
So you put them out on the shelf, and you may get one buyer a week for a bottle.
Right.
So you just sit on that stuff for centuries. That's why we've never made it.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. Yeah, dessert wines are tricky. And then once you open them, do you have to finish them? You like a regular bottle of wine, or can you recap them?
Alcohol's a little higher. I think they'll live a little longer than a regular bottle.
But it's not like the same alcohol as it's not like whiskey. It's like 20% or something.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not
a
like
little
terrible.
bit above what normal wine is. They'll live a little bit longer, but they'll oxidize just like normal wine too. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, someday. Someday. So kind of, we're in this AVA or near this AVA, Snake River Valley. What do you like most about the Snake River Valley region, and what do you think can be improved? Like, which grapes would you like to see planted that you don't get a lot of? You just mentioned a couple that you have a hard time getting a hold of. What are some other kind of grapes that you'd like to see, and what do you like most about our little AVA out here?
This is a great question, and we could probably talk for hours about it. So I think the wines that are being released in Idaho right now are amazing. I think that they're really comparable to a lot of Washington wines. The quality and the body, the price point, a lot of these wines is better than what you get in Washington. I think because the region's still really small. So there's a lot of huge benefits of what's coming out of Idaho. I think our biggest struggle, Steve, and I would assume all the other wineries would agree, is they don't grow enough fruit in Idaho right now to serve all the wineries. So there's not enough grapes out there from year to year typically for people to find what they want to. So, a lot of the contracts are eaten up. We have to substitute and get a lot of stuff from Washington from year to year, which is totally fine. So there's some great growers in Washington that have been doing it for years, and I can drive over and pick them up, and be back in the same day. So it still feels really regional. Yeah. But there's not a lot of like super wacky stuff grown here too. And we play with a lot of weird grape varieties. The Williamsons, there has been some guys that have started to produce Cunwa and Cinsault and Grenache at small scales. So there's little bits and pieces of good stuff being grown, which I think is great. But a lot of the big grapes are what you see here. I mean, Cab, you see loads of grown here. There's a lot of Chard. There's a lot of Viognier, which I think is really cool. I don't know. It's a great question. I would love to loop in some of the growers and get their real opinion on what's going on. Yeah. Because Cab sometimes, when we're picking sometimes in like the middle of November. Wow. That's late. That's you know what late, I mean? Yeah. And it's because it gets cold here and the grapes just don't have enough time to ripen. So I think there could be some more work done to really figure out like what clones do the best here, of which grape varieties, and there's some other methods to improve things. But the bottom line is the wines that are coming out of Idaho are pretty awesome from what I've tried. So we should be pretty proud.
Oh yeah, no, totally. That's one of the reasons why I like to have you guys on, because I don't think it's widely known. Like, I don't think people in Idaho understand that there's really great wines coming from our wineries. Totally. Yeah. Like, I am continually blown away. Like, I think we started talking in the last 6 months or whenever it was because I had the Horned Beast, and I was like, my God, I'll put this up against anything I've had anywhere else. Like, this is really, really good. And I'm a blend. I like red blends anyway. Like, I like Walla Walla wines. My parents live out there, and so I like a lot of those blends that they're doing out there that are kind of fun. But I think the blends that we do out here are just as fun. I mean, we have some really great stuff. So the Horned Beast is that a GSM? That's a GSM, right?
Yep.
So I think that the GSM is one of those things that could be like, maybe that's the wine of Idaho. Maybe that's Idaho's wine. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yep. We need to grow a little bit more Grenache and Mourvedre to make it happen, but Syrah does really well here.
Yeah.
Which is the base ingredient for our GSM anyways. I mean, it's like 80% Syrah. Syrah is great, and it harvests early. I think it seems like it likes the climate pretty well here. It's pretty easy to grow. So yeah, I don't disagree. And I think most consumers, just like you, they like blends more a lot of times. You can nuance the wines by blending them with something to kind of calm them down. Yeah. 100% cabs and stuff, a lot of times you try them and they're a little tough to choke down because they're so tannic and big, and they've got a lot of angles and stuff to them. So, blends help.
Yeah, and like with a blend, you're not spending. I mean, I would love to see some of these GSMs that you guys are making be up in that $40 to $50 range, but they're just not. They're $25, $27, $30, whatever they are. Sure. You go and spend $100 on a cab, $125 on a cab or whatever, and you almost feel like you have to like it. Like, yes. You're like, I'm going to pop this thing open and I must like this.
Yep.
And
it's got to be good if I paid this.
It's got to be good. It was $125.
Yeah, totally.
But with the $27 to $35 to $40 range, in that range with the GSMs that I've seen, I mean, you can open them the day you buy them and feel fine with it. You don't feel like you have to lay it down. Totally. You don't feel like you have to, age it or anything like that. And I just think it's they're really creative and fun. And speaking of creative, you guys, Split Rail, stands out to me because of your colorful and creative. At first, it was your can art. So you guys were kind of pioneers in the canning of wine, which is really cool and awesome. And you got wine out to a lot of people, I'm sure, with that, right?
Yep.
And so you've brought this creativity into the tasting room, as we've talked about, and into the production facility. How important is it to you to maintain that creative aspect of the winery? And in what other ways do you think that kind of shines through?
Oh man, I mean, that is the most important thing for what we do. From my perspective, I mean, it keeps me excited to be here. It keeps me motivated to keep creating stuff. I mean, these labels and the kind of off-kilter wines that we're producing are really kind of what drive us to do what we do. Putting stuff in cans just gives people new spaces and places to drink wine. It's also like a different market, different price point for people to come in, and they don't have to spend a bunch of money on wine. So really, the creative part is huge for us. And then also, trying to beat this perception of wine, that wine has to be this snooty thing all the time. You know what I mean? That you have to spend $100 on a bottle to really enjoy it. Because I don't think that that's true. And I think people can come out and try wine and find something they don't have to like all of it, but they can find something that they like, and it maybe open up their eyes. And a lot of people are afraid to even come out and drink wine because they're like, I don't know that much about wine.
Yeah.
That's fine. You don't have to know anything about wine to just come out and drink it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I really...
Jed knows about wine. That's all you need to know.
Right.
Jed knows.
Right. Or breweries. I respect that when I go to a brewery and it's like, they aren't giving you this deep dive description on the beer. It's just like, here, if that's a beer that you want, there you go. Go drink it and enjoy it. I don't need to give you a tutorial on the beer.
Yeah.
So I respect that it's like, hey, they're just producing stuff that they think's cool, and come in and make it easy. I mean, we can go deep dive technical if you want to into the wines, but most people don't. They're like, hey, I'm just coming out to have a drink and relax.
Yeah. And that's like one of those things where when I do these interviews with the winery people, like some winery people really love to get, like Earl, he'll deep dive into everything. Like he loves that stuff. That's his like jam.
Totally.
But like talking to Joe Cinder, he's just like, he likes to tell all the stories about what's going on. And then like, I find that you are more like kind of in the middle. Like you want to talk about degorging and all this other stuff, but you also want to talk about like why it's important to get out to as many people as possible and stuff like that. I feel like that's where the creativity of your guys' labels and the cans. Like I said, when you guys first started putting wine in cans, I think I was one of the only people that was like, that's brilliant. Like, that's a great move. Everybody else was like, oh, like I know my wife was like, she was like, wine in can. I don't know about that.
Totally.
And, I'm like, I think it's awesome. Like, it's 12 ounces, which is a perfect amount. Like, that's like, I mean, you order 2 glasses at a restaurant anyway.
Yep.
12 ounces is right there, pretty much like glass and a half, whatever it is. And it's portable. Everyone always talks about you can take it hiking. Nobody ever does that, I don't think, but you can do that if you want. You can also take a bottle of wine hiking if you want. But I think it's just at first I looked at it as sort of an expression. Then I kind of got to meet you a little bit, and I was like, yeah, this is just like an expression. Like this is just, he's like, everyone else is doing bottles. And this is what we were doing at Edge too. Like you have to separate yourself from everyone.
100%.
And how do we do that?
Yep.
Put it in cans.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Even if you're not going to bring it hiking, like if you like to go boating or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a million. Or you go to the pool and they don't allow glass a lot of times at the pool, but it's like, hey, I still want some wine. Yeah, I think that there's still that perception out there a little bit too, Steve. People that are like, I don't know, wine's got to be in a bottle. It's got to be this cork. It's got to be this experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's great. We do like to have the experience too, but we also just want people to like wine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How can you like it without making it that fussy? So yeah, debunking that error. I mean, we keg wine. I think there's a million different ways that wine can be released and get into people's hands, and it doesn't have to be in these high-end glass bottles that are clunky to haul around. You know what I mean?
That being said, now that you're doing glass bottles, they look fantastic. I love the wax dip that you guys are doing on a lot of them. Looks really cool.
Yep.
I think that the labels look really neat. I think that you've transitioned over to the bottle very nicely, but I still like to see those cans out there. They just make me happy. I love the can
We'll do both.
art.
Well, we'll always continue to do both. So
Nice.
They both kind of drive the business. You know what I mean? The cans go in like grocery stores. The boutique bottles go in the wine shops.
I mean, how many times have you stuck out somewhere without a fucking wine opener? Like,
Yes. Yes. Try to push it in the cork with like a knife or something. We've all done that before. You know, you gotta get to the juice somehow. Totally.
Gotta get to the juice. That's great. You talked about earlier, you did a collaboration with Barbarian with a Riesling, or with a, I guess it was a Riesling, right? Or it was
Roussan was the name of the grape. Another weird.
Have you ever done any other collaborations with any local distilleries or breweries? Is that something you'd like to get into more? Or?
Yeah, we have. You know, everybody, it's really hard to do a collaboration and then figure out how to sell the product, right?
Sure, yeah.
Because it's like, hey, how do you want to do this if 80% of the product's ours and 10%'s yours? How do we switch this out or trade or whatever? I think everyone's kind of just figured out, hey, if I use a little bit of your product and my product, it'll kind of work really well. So Merriweather, the cider guys, have done a number of ciders where they've used wine and kind of infused a little bit of our wine in with their ciders. So I think that's super cool. We were talking with Boise Brewing. Excuse me.
Oh, you're right.
Earlier this year about doing a collaboration wine beer thing. So I love collabs because it's a great opportunity to kind of like use a bit of our ingredients and product that we have and something that they might have. So a lot of times when you're fusing wine and beer, though, it's hard to make it make sense. We have sat down with a lot of these guys and be like, hey, let's blend a little bit of our wine in with your beer. And you do that and you're like, oh, that kind of tastes like a suicide mistake. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then the marketing aspect of it comes later and you're like, well, how do we do this? I totally get that.
Yes.
Unless you're in the same
So it's more like, hey, I like your product. Let me buy it. And I'll put it, I'll put your logo on it and just sell it myself,
cool.
Which is typically how it works. That's how Merriweather does it. I think that's the smartest way to do it. So we'll see. A lot of times during harvest is the best time to do collabs because you can use our grape skins to make beer. And that totally makes sense because we usually make a harvest beer every year. This year we took the Riesling skins and then and fermented the brew water, we heated up the brew water and put the grape skins on it for 2 days, and it extracts all the tannin out of the grape skins, and it makes this beer that's kind of like grippy and tart, but it's naturally tart, you know what I mean, instead of doing any of that lactose stuff. So it kind of works, but it's the timing issue. Whenever we're like, hey, we've got some grape skins, everybody's like, I don't have any.
Well, let me know when that comes out. I'd love to try that. That sounds amazing. And finally, we're gonna wrap up on this. What does the name split rail refer to? What does that mean? What are we talking about?
Yeah, it refers to a fence, a type of fence. So split rail fence, I won't get too deep into it, but the first house my wife and I built, we used all of our budget on the house, and we had these 2 huge dogs, and the CC&Rs in the neighborhood required that you put split rail fence around your property.
Oh, okay. Pretty
big piece of property. So my wife and I installed the fence ourselves. And it was up in the foothills, and it was this just like brutal, rocky soil that we fought through for like 2 weeks to put this stupid fence in. It was like the marriage breaker fence almost, you know what I mean? We had this auger. We had to look each other in the eyes to drill the holes for the fence posts. And it was brutal, but we kind of got through it like everything else we've done in life. And it was that kind of beacon of the West, too, the split rail fence. We also got married in Stanley, and we've spent a bunch of time up in Stanley, Ketchum area, and their split rail fence kind of wraps around all those big open pastures up there.
Okay.
So it kind of reminds me of Idaho. It was like one of those beacons of Idaho.
Love that. That's great. Well, Jed, thank you so much for being on the show today.
My pleasure.
Awesome to have you on. Thank you for taking us through your spring releases and for kind of shedding some light on what you guys are doing out here in Garden City. Do you have anything fun coming up that you want to get out there, anything like that?
Oh man, the release party for these wines is in a couple weeks, and that is open to the public too, as well as people that are in our wine club. So you can still show up and taste the wines that we talked about, which is great. So get on our website and you can kind of follow a link to do that. Really follow our social media platforms and stuff. We have live music in here pretty frequently. We have a great Mother's Day event coming up with a bunch of vendors and a food truck and live music. So really just keeping your eyes peeled on social media and our website is the best way to see what we're up to.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it. Great to see you.
You too.
And we'll be right back with, I'm going to taste some of these awesome spring releases right after this. Welcome back to the Idaho Booze Podcast. I'm Steve Kuntz, and it is time for Friday Night Pints. It's a sipping edition. That means we have some wonderful wines for you guys to try out, starting out with Split Rail's spring releases that I was able to try. Only got to try a couple of them, so we're going to start with the Defunk. It's the Split Rail Defunk Rosé. This is made with Kunwa and Sin Salt grapes. I'm not saying those at all right. I can tell you that much. It's Derby weekend. So what? This one was degorged. We talked about that in the interview. You guys probably heard that earlier. This one is very bubbly, effervescent, with subtle flavors. It's not so out there. It's very subtle. Raspberry, cranberry, white grape, and a little bit of rose, like almost kind of like a rose water, like a rose sort of, I guess the flower. There you go. Finish is nice with the bubbles. I really like a nice bubbly rosé. It's kind of floral with a touch of dryness at the end. 11.5% available right now at Split Rail, or I guess starting May 2nd maybe. So maybe tomorrow at Split Rail. We also got the Gris, the Grease, the Gris, Gree. That's what it's called. This one was made with Muscat and Riesling. It's candied apple and melon on the nose. It took me forever to figure out what that candied apple was, but I'm glad I got there. Red apple, cantaloupe on the first sip with just a touch of sweetness. The finish is clean. This is a really nice wine for the patio or on the beach. 11.9% found at Split Rail starting tomorrow at their release. Then went over to Three Horse Ranch. We're going to have all this in my Journey to Idaho wine. You can see all about Three Horse Ranch there. Really awesome experience. I recommend anyone to go there. It's up in the Eagle Foothills. You really like it. And I'm just going to tell you about one of the wines I had there because it's something I've kind of been harping on. And that is their GSM, Grenache, Syrah, Mourvèdre. Bright fruit forward with raspberry, cranberry, black cherry, and pepper with a nice dry finish. Really cool wine. I thought it was really nicely put together. Maybe, a little bit more traditional as far as the blend goes. It's not quite as sweet as you'd probably think it would be for a red blend. More dry. That Grenache adds a lot of body. I don't know what the Mourvèdre brings, but the Syrah has a little bit of pepperiness to it. Really nice wine. So check that out. That's the 2021 Estate GSM from Three Horse Ranch. Well, that will do it for Friday Night Pints. We're going to be right back to wrap things up right after this. Ready to amp up your summer cocktail program? Just add a dash of Warren Reserve ginger root bitters to your favorite cocktail and let the magic of pure ginger root transform your boring drink into an amazing summer refresher. Warren Reserve ginger root bitters are made with fresh ginger root, so the flavor you're getting is pure ginger. Use these bitters to add tons of flavor to any mule, Moscow, or otherwise, or add them to a margarita for a little spice. Get your ginger root bitters or any delicious Warren Reserve bitters or syrups at warrenreserve.com. Use my promo code IdahoBooze25 at checkout. Save 15% on your next purchase. Add a blast of flavor to your summer cocktails with Warren Reserve ginger root bitters. Welcome back to the show. I'm Steve Kuntz, and we are wrapping things up. Thanks very much to Jed Glavin. Oh my God, Jed welcomed us with open arms into his winery. We had a blast. I was there, pretty much half a day and just filmed a bunch of stuff for Journey to Idaho Wine. Check that out on Substack, idahowine.substack.com. Just $5 a month, and you get to see the videos I made while I was there at Split Rail. If you haven't been, go check Split Rail out. It's very cool. There's lots of cool art on the walls. There's neat little sitting areas. That little VIP room we were in was really neat. So go make sure you check that out over in Garden City. Split Rail doing a great job too. Their wines are fantastic. So thank you, Jed, for having us in there. Thank you to everyone listening today. Thank you to Warren Reserve. We really appreciate you guys. warrenreserve.com. Use my promo code IdahoBooze25. Save yourself 15% on any order of $40 or more. Get out there for the Derby this weekend and make you one of those Kentucky ginger mules. Really, really good with the bourbon and the ginger bitters in there. Really tasty. You guys are going to love it. I know that for a fact. So thank you very much to everyone for listening. Thank you all out there. Really appreciate you. If you have anything you want to say to me, whether directly or indirectly, idahoboozepod@gmail.com is the email address for me. You can catch me on all the socials. Facebook, I'm Steve Kuntz. Everywhere else, I'm at The Daily Beard, and we're going to have some TikTok content up this week, I think. So look out for that on the Tick and the Talk. This has been the Idaho Booze Podcast, episode 16 of the 2025 season already. Wow, we are cranking them out. I'm Steve Kuntz. Good day and Good Derby drinking, everyone.